Bom, boa tarde a todos. Hoje estamos no segundo dia do 10º Encontro Internacional dos Grupos de Pesquisa. Hoje teremos a palestra do Shanken, né? I'd like you to thank you, Shanken, for being here with us today. And Fernando could say something.
Yes, I would like to thank you, Professor Edward Shanken, too, for the possibility to share your ideas with us. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. I really look forward to sharing ideas with you.
Thank you both. Well, first of all, I want to thank for your presence here. It's really an honor. And we have, in fact, some of our researchers studying your book, especially the group Realities. I don't know if you understood that we have here collaborating in 3 research groups. One of them is Realities, the other one is JEEP, and the other one is CAT, which is organizing this symposium this year, and Fernando and Milton are the director of this group. And also I would like to thank to great shaman, Google, that allowed me to say these words. Oh, well, Shanken, now I will tell some words about you, and I will read your abstract in Portuguese, and then I will come back for you, okay?
Okay, thank you. So a few words about me. I am trained as an art historian. My research for the first 25 years of my career really focused on exploring the intersections of science, engineering, art, and design. I discovered this topic in the first year of my PhD program. I was thinking about the future. It was the year 1993. The year 2000 was 7 years hence, this monumental turn of the millennium. A friend who's an artist introduced me to the first web browser, Mosaic. Another friend introduced me to interactive CD-ROMs. And I saw the future. I saw the future of art, and I saw the future of my career as an art historian. And I've been on that trail ever since.
Thank you. Então, pessoal, eu agradeço muito a presença de todo mundo aqui. Eu falo rapidamente o currículo do professor Edward Shanken. Ele é um historiador de arte preocupado com o futuro da arte. Ele tem várias publicações, incluindo ensaios sobre xamanismo, arte sonora, ecologia. E ele preenche também uma lacuna entre as novas mídias e a arte contemporânea. É bem interessante, porque ele faz essa conexão. E os livros dele mais famosos, né, Telematic Embrace, Visionary Theories of Art, Technology and Consciousness. Esse livro foi escrito pelo Roy Ascott, com ele fazendo a edição, e tem um artigo dele também ali. Provavelmente o livro mais conhecido é esse Art and Electronic Media, e o outro, Inventar el Futuro, Arte, Electricidad, Nuevos Medios, e outro que chama System. Ele é associado de artes na Universidade da Califórnia, em Santa Cruz, e já foi diretor do mestrado em artes digitais e novas mídias, e também foi professor do programa digital de mídia da Rhode Island School of Design, e também do mestrado de estudos da mídia em Amsterdã. O título do trabalho dele é TECNOXAMANISMO, Rumo a Técnicas Híbridas e Estética de Cura. Estética, eu vou ler de novo. TECNOXAMANISMO, Rumo a Técnicas Híbridas de Estética e Cura. Vou ler rapidamente o resumo para aqueles que têm um pouco mais de dificuldade com o inglês. O termo tecnoxamanismo tem sido usado para se referir a uma ampla gama de manifestações sociais e culturais incluindo modalidades de cura e rituais espirituais, cultura rave e electronic dance music, e várias práticas de artes digitais envolvendo instalação, performance e realidade virtual. Na medida em que o xamanismo pode ser entendido como uma tecnologia altamente refinada, o termo tecnoxamanismo é redundante. No entanto, quando ele postou uma consulta no Facebook pedindo sugestões de escritos e obras de arte relacionadas ao tecnoxamanismo, eu estou lendo o que ele escreveu, né? Recebi mais de 100 comentários, principalmente de artistas digitais. Isso me convenceu de que o conceito era muito relevante e fala que o xamanismo tem uma história longa, complexa e contestada que abrange diversas culturas. Eu considero o xamanismo, em sua essência, uma preocupação com a cura e com a manutenção da vida. As tradições xamânicas ao redor do mundo desenvolveram uma ampla gama de técnicas de impulsionadores sônicos a rituais de plantas medicinais, a fim de atingir estados de transe que ofereceram percepções além daquelas disponíveis para a típica consciência desperta. Seguindo essa definição, considero o tecnoxamanismo como uma combinação dessas tecnologias xamânicas mais tradicionais e com as tecnologias digitais e pós-digitais emergentes, todas a serviço da cura e manutenção da vida, né? Ele entende aí que existe a necessidade de um diálogo com artistas, xamãs, profissionais médicos, engenheiros e outras partes interessadas, tá? E ele está dizendo, eu estou louco para compartilhar as ideias com você, tá? Então, so Shanken, is your turn.
Oh, well, thank you, Leote.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to trust that everything you said was accurate and complimentary. I'm honored.
Well, I just read what you wrote in Portuguese, so I think that is all right.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm very honored by the invitation to come share ideas with this group. And this is really the first talk that I've given specifically on the topic of techno-shamanism. It's a topic that I've been looking at for a while, and maybe something that seems a little bit unusual for those of you who are familiar with my work, but actually I think that there are really significant ties to really my earliest work on Roy Ascott. So it was about a year ago that I had the honor of leading a virtual masterclass on telematic art and telematic education for Ania Cultural in Uruguay. A member of the audience asked me where I saw art heading in the future. And I always love this question because, as I explained during my first year in graduate school, I was thinking about the future. And I became fascinated with the future of art. I'm in the beginning of a PhD program in art history, and I realized I'm actually more interested in the future of art than its history. But I realized that I had to understand history if I was going to have a clue about what's happening in the present, much less the future. So when I was asked where I saw art heading in the future, I immediately said, healing. And that response was based on a new direction that my scholarship has been taking since around 2018. At that point, having published books and articles and significantly gained tenure, I paused for a moment and looked inward. I realized that I was out of balance. While building my career as a scholar, the left side of my brain, the critical, hyper-rational side that academia demands, became highly developed and refined. I had mastered the ability to analyze things, break them down, and logically argue my perspective with solid evidence. Now, there is plenty of right brain creativity involved in synthesizing ideas, formulating arguments, and conveying them in a compelling way. But that creativity is very different than the creativity of, say, playing the piano or dancing. Such performative practices demand tuning into the body to allow its wisdom to surface. They demand tuning into the heart to allow its wisdom to flow. And much to my chagrin, I realized that these abilities were underdeveloped or had become stagnant and atrophied. So I made a shift. I began to dance and to study dance, especially ecstatic dance and contact improvisation. I had played the piano my whole life, but now I did so with greater intentionality and began performing with dancers, performing the shamanic fusion dance method. Like many Americans who are discovering or rediscovering the healing powers of psychedelics, which I had experimented with in my teens and 20s, I participated in local ayahuasca ceremonies. My ceremony was led by a shaman trained by Shipibo Mestres in the Peruvian Amazon. And of course, he would never refer to himself as a shaman. I also participated in a local Santo Daime ceremony. As a result of these experiences, I opened my heart more fully to myself, embracing both the light and the shadow. By opening my heart to myself, I was able to open my heart more fully to others. And opening my heart to others enabled me to open my heart more fully to the earth, to Gaia, to Pachamama, to the love that I believe underlies the unity of all things. I believe that these insights were beautiful gifts from Aya, the beloved goddess of the jungle, the personification of the spirit of ayahuasca. I discovered the power of surrender. I discovered the power of compassion. I discovered the power of gratitude. I discovered the power of prayer. In essence, I was making important strides to rebalance and heal myself. And as I became more whole and more complete as a person, my relationship to others and to the earth became healthier, more loving. These transformations deeply impacted my research and teaching. In 1993, during my first year of my PhD program in art history, I became fascinated by how British artist and theorist Roy Ascott wove together art, science, technology, and philosophy, cybernetics, and parapsychology with Native American cultural forms, the I Ching, and other divinatory systems for giving us access to the future. His work has consistently espoused expanded forms of consciousness and love. I interpret this aspect of Ascott's work as creating more intimate forms of relationality through art, of learning to inhabit the world in a better way. Ascott's work envisions alternative futures and offers us the opportunity to get a taste of them in the present. Although the term healing does not appear frequently in his work, I believe that ultimately Ascott's work performs a healing function by expanding consciousness, by expanding love. And I've come to see his work as an early form, an early example of what I refer to as techno-shamanism. I entitled my first book, Telematic Embrace, Visionary Theories of Art, Technology, and Consciousness. When I look at that title now, nearly 2 decades later, the words that resonate for me are, as they appear in the order in the title, embrace visionary consciousness. I take these words as a command, as a call to service, to embrace visionary consciousness. The telematics, the theories, the art, the technology, they're all well and good. They're all fine. But the core of my interest, and I realized that actually the core of my interest from the very beginning was to embrace visionary consciousness. I believe that embracing visionary consciousness is fundamental to how shamans do what they do. It is a key pathway to healing. As Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh has said in his beautiful book, Love Letter to the Earth, our own awakened consciousness is what can heal the earth. And my work has become deeply concerned with trying to sustain and maintain and preserve the tremendous biodiversity of Earth, the interconnectedness of all things in this living being of Gaia, Pachamama. Shamanism has a long, complex, and contested history that spans diverse cultures, and I do not consider myself an expert on shamanism, although I'm trying. The word itself originates in Siberia, but limiting the definition of shamanism to any particular region or culture fails to recognize the significant parallels one finds across them. It is my understanding that the shaman is once revered and feared because of their powers. Often a shaman proves their shamanic powers through a self-healing process. The shaman is both of this world and of the worlds beyond. They communicate with spirits and ancestors in other dimensions, learn from them, guide members of the community to them, and harness their power to heal and to protect members of the community and the community as a whole. The shaman can embody the consciousness of other beings, including other animals, and in doing so, gain insight into how, for example, humans who are small and weak can prey on larger, more powerful animals, such as panthers and alligators, that might otherwise prey on us. Shamans can exorcise evil spirits that have overtaken a member of their community, absorbing that spirit and then purging themselves of it. This can be extremely dangerous. So shamans must be very strong of spirit, capable of self-healing, and very knowledgeable of their craft. Following the work of Michael Harner, an American anthropologist who founded the Foundation for Shamanic Studies, I take shamanism at its core to be concerned with healing and with sustaining life. Shamanic traditions across the world have developed a broad range of technologies, from sonic drivers such as drums to plant medicine rituals, including plant medicine such as ayahuasca, in order to achieve trance-like states that offer insights beyond those available to typical waking consciousness. These insights have healing properties at many scales, I believe, from the individual to the global. And I take shamanism to join together a combination of traditional shamanic technologies with emerging digital and post-digital technologies, all in the service of healing and sustaining life. As Brazilian scholar Fabiana Borges notes, it is important to view shamanism as a methodology, as a technology for the production of knowledge. It is also very important for techno-shamanism, the realization that apart from any possible encounter with technology and shamanism, shamanism is itself a technology. It is not just about ecstasy, but about transhuman communication. I am particularly interested in how contemporary artists pursue expanded forms of shamanic consciousness through the use of technoscientific tools, creating mixed realities that constitute hybrid techno-shamanic aesthetic experiences that promote ecstatic states and enable transhuman communication in the pursuit of healing. In 1997, Roy Ascott participated in ayahuasca ceremonies with Cuicuri Pages. Please correct my pronunciation. Pages of the Xingu River region in the state of Mato Grosso, Brazil. In his 1998 essay, Weaving the Shamanic Web, he described the shaman as one who cares for consciousness, for whom the navigation of consciousness for purposes of spiritual and physical wholeness is the subject and object of living. He witnessed the page passing through different layers of reality, through different realities, engaging with disembodied entities, avatars, and phenomena of other worlds. And these are all Ascott's words. The shaman, according to Ascott, inhabits a state of double consciousness, of seeing at once both inward realities and outward surfaces of the world. And he theorized parallels between the double consciousness that emerges in shamanic ceremonies and the double consciousness afforded by extended reality technologies. As he wrote, in many respects, this ancient ritual mirrors our contemporary artistic aspirations using digital technologies, as, for example, virtual reality and, with its superimposition of cognitive schemas on real-world situations, the field of augmented reality. For American composer and electronic music pioneer Pauline Oliveros, cultivating expanded forms of consciousness was the primary focus of her career. I see her as an early techno-shaman, like Ascott. But in contrast to Ascott, for Oliveros, the wisdom of the body is vitally important in order to access expanded states of consciousness. As she wrote, I have progressed through many changes in music technology from the end of the 50s to the present. Along the way, I developed a bodily relation to machines for making music. Because of the essential knowledge of the body, is preconscious and nonverbal. Her experience of performing improvised music parallels the sort of double consciousness that Ascot ascribes to shamanism. Oliveros became essentially a channel through which spirits from other dimensions could communicate with us and heal us. As she wrote, "This altered state of consciousness and performance is exhilarating and inspiring. The music comes through as if I have nothing to do with it, but allow it to emerge through my instrument and voice." Perhaps even more compelling is Oliveira's ideal attributes for a future artificial intelligence chip with which to make music. I see her vision here as really expanding what is possible technologically with computation to enter into a deeply spiritual realm, a shamanic realm. She wants this chip to have the ability to understand the relational wisdom that comprehends the nature of musical energy. She wants it to have the ability to perceive and comprehend the spiritual connection and interdependence of all beings and all creation as the basis and privilege of music making. She wants it to have the ability to create community and healing through music making. She wants it to have the ability to sound and perceive the far reaches of the universe, much as whales sound and perceive the vastness of the oceans. And she says this could set the stage for interdimensional galactic improvisations with yet unknown beings. I really appreciate this expansive conception of what technology might be able to offer us. I don't see computational technology offering this, but perhaps techno-shamanic technologies, the joining of ancient technologies of shamanism with the emerging technologies of digital and post-digital technologies offers a greater potential. Oh, went too fast. In accord with Ascot's descriptions of shamans, the navigation of consciousness for purposes of spiritual and cyclical wholeness was really the subject and object of Oliveros' work. And her compositions develop attentional strategies that enable performers and the audience member to, quote, pass through many layers of reality, through different realities, as Ascot stated. For Oliveros, expanded consciousness was the foundation of healing, a form of service that she performed within the frame of a feminist ethics of care joined with musical practice. Chilean artist Juan Downey I see as another early techno-shaman. His artwork deployed video as a shamanic device to expand consciousness and reveal alternative realities. Traveling throughout North and South America with his Sony Portapack in tow in the 70s, he lived with indigenous people in their own conditions. Downey spread the gospel of video, enabling members of his host tribes to record themselves and their traditions, and also documenting them himself. He then spread those videos across cultures, offering a scathing and ironic critique of Western bigotry and prejudice wherever he encountered it. His 1979 video, The Laughing Alligator, which he proclaims was shot with the Yanomami people as a collaboration in the Amazon rainforest in 1976 and 1977. This video is one extraordinary outcome from the many months he and his family lived with the Yanomami people in southern Venezuela on the border of Brazil. In his first appearance, Downey is bare-chested as he undergoes a shamanic ritual at the Shibono, or communal dwelling. He participated with his Yanomami hosts in Yopo rituals. As documented in the video, in fact, nearly 6 minutes of the 26 minutes of the video are dedicated to Yopo rituals. And we see how the shamans have a powdered form of ayahuasca blown deep into their nostrils, a technique that quickly and powerfully releases the plant medicine psychotropic effects. The artist realized or came to regard shamanism as one of the most powerful elements in the bond that linked the Yanomami to their surroundings and to each other. And I'm going to show the portion of the video, I'm going to show about 4.5 minutes of how Downey documented this central ceremonial ritual of the people that he lived with and really loved and admired. Part of this is narrated by his wife, Marilise Belting Downey. That's pretty good. We'll start here.
The Yanomami prepare hallucinogenic drugs from 2 different trees, the virola elongata that grows throughout the forest. Its inner bark exudes a dark, sticky sap rich in alkaloids. This inner bark is stripped and dried over a fire. The other hallucinogen comes from the seed of the amarantha tree that the Indians collect in the high savanna. The carefully wrapped seeds are exchanged from community to community. In this way, it circulates deep into the Yanomami territory. A third tree, the Elisabetha, is used to provide a base for the 2 drugs. Its bark is burned. Its ashes act as a binder for either hallucinogen. At a final stage of the preparation, both drugs appear to be a fine greenish or reddish gray powder. The Indians claim that in this drug-induced state, they are able to contact other worlds.
I'm going to pause it there because the embedded video is not playing very smoothly. So let me just move forward in.
That in this drug-induced.
There. I think that's better. So I don't know if you were able to see what was on my screen, the video, but Downey used at the time what were pretty advanced editing techniques to key in different colors and transform the documentary video that he'd shot of these Yopo rituals in these kind of beautiful colors. Yeah, that shows it better. It's really much smoother than the video plays here. So I see Downey as using the, technological, electrical means of video as a way of conveying the shamanic experience. And in this respect, I see him as an early techno-shamanism. Now, although he began his stay with the Yanomami really determined to focus on video and to avoid drawing, which had been a central part of his practice, he soon found that drawing spirals was the only way to access his visions after meditating each morning. So he made these extraordinary spiral drawings. And he described it as follows. A white and round place opens up in the front of my brain. Excretions of light that vaguely align into circles, the intensity of the infinite peace of a mauve color. I want to enter into that space of my empty consciousness. Downey's drawings of spirals are deeply meditative and demonstrate, moreover, the power of mind over matter, a form of healing. According to his widow, Marilyse Belting Downey, the artist had a visible tremor, but that tremor went away completely when he was drawing. Drawing was, for Downey, a form of meditation that drew him into trance-like states and allowed him to access forms of knowledge and wisdom that lay outside of the rational analytic modes of thought. From spending a lifetime in trance-like states, the artist expanded his consciousness. He tuned into the consciousness of others, and he helped others to do the same. As a result, Downey's work plays an important role in stimulating new ways of thinking that are the prerequisite for healing society's pathologies and to recreating the world in a more sensitive, inclusive, and caring way. The term techno-shamanism has been used to refer to a broad range of social and cultural manifestations, as mentioned in my abstract, including healing modalities and spiritual rituals, rave culture and electronic dance music, various digital arts practices, and including performance, VR, installation, so on. Given the vibrant shamanic cultures of the Amazon basin, it is not surprising that Brazil has been a hotbed of techno-shamanic activity. So I must admit that I feel like a bit of an interloper to this topic when addressing a Brazilian audience. Indeed, I have learned a great deal from the work of Brazilian artists and scholars who have made art, produced events, and organized and generated scholarship around the proposal of techno-shamanism. These include Diana Dominguez, Fabiana Borges, Adriano Belisario, Feto de Costa, Pedro P. Ferreira, and the TECNOXAMANISMO network. I have learned much from their work, and I look forward to a time when I can travel to Brazil and share ideas and learn more. So even though I think that techno-shamanism is kind of a redundant term because shamanism itself is inherently technological, when I posted a query on Facebook asking for suggested writings and readings and artworks related to techno-shamanism, I received 100 comments, and that's a lot of comments for me to receive on a post. This convinced me that the concept was relevant. I'm particularly concerned with how contemporary artists pursue expanded forms of shamanic consciousness through the use of techno-shamanic tools, creating mixed realities that constitute hybrid shamanic and techno-shamanic aesthetic experiences. As this area is very nebulous and undefined, I've begun to identify some key artistic and theoretical monuments in order to demarcate this amorphous field. And I've shared with you some of these ideas and some of these kind of early precursors. My approach is not to begin from theory and to find examples that illustrate it, but rather to allow a field to emerge more organically by bouncing theory and practice off of each other in dialogue. And I'd like to conclude by giving two examples of techno-shamanism, contemporary techno-shamanism. Native American artist Ananda Ray and her work Covenant VR, and Korean artist Junghan Kim's work Birdman. Although these works are not well known, they are for me some of the most potent examples of what I consider to be techno-shamanism. So now I'd like to share my screen to show a video. Let's see, I need to find it here. Okay, I need to share a different screen. Let me share. Let's see. Okay. Just line this up. There we go. That looks pretty good. Dancer and choreographer Ananda Ray is based in the San Francisco Bay Area. As a teacher, she developed the shamanic fusion dance method, with which she trains members of her company, Chimera Ritual Dance. She is also an ordained priestess of the ancient Egyptian goddess Isis and has guided many initiates into the priesthood, including most of the dancers in the piece that I'll share with you. I became aware of her work in July 2018 at the San Francisco Movement Arts Festival. While there, someone came running up to me. Eddie, have you seen the virtual reality dance piece? It was a new friend I'd met, not surprisingly, at an ayahuasca ritual a few months earlier, and he knew about my interest in art and technology and shamanism. Given the shift that I described to you in the beginning of my talk, and new focus on dance and embodiment, along with my ongoing fascination with art and technology, this sounded fascinating to me. We were greeted by a woman dressed in all white, who led us into an adjacent building at the Grace Cathedral, where this event took place and where the dance is sited. So the virtual reality production is almost site-specific for Grace Cathedral, where the event was going on. Gary Yost, the virtual reality and augmented reality wizard who collaborated with Ray on the piece, handed us super high resolution VR goggles and offered a brief explanation. The next thing I knew, bam, I'm in a practice dance studio, rehearsal studio, at a virtual distance of 2 to 3 feet from a striking dark-skinned dancer who is being directed by Ray. The 2D video clip that I'll show you now can't convey the dimensionality or potency of the interactive VR experience, but it will give you a sense of this remarkable work, and I'll navigate it to give you a sense of the 3D.
Let's dive into those disowned parts, the parts in your subconscious. Okay, what part of yourself is present? How does this part of yourself move? How does it feel? Who are you? Who are you when you are allowing the disowned parts of yourself to be owned? Yes, Linda, I'm loving that. Stay there for a minute. Now experiment with that. What does that have in it? Yes. Loving the arms reaching. That's beautiful. Yes. What does it feel like? Who are you? What do you have to reveal to us? Show us your secrets. Let us see you. Yes, this.
Now I'm navigating the virtual reality environment in this 2D format. But when you're in it, it's totally immersive. Now we are in Grace Cathedral. So I'm just going to, in the interest of time, I'm going to pause it here. For me, I don't need to interpret this, but I really see this as joining virtual, digital technologies with shamanic technologies, traditional shamanic technologies, in really powerful ways. Korea has a rich living tradition of shamanism that continues to inspire artists. Junghan Kim, also inspired by shamanic and Buddhist traditions, created Birdman as a multimedia art installation. The artwork asks the fundamental questions. How do human beings conceptualize the world? Can the hybrid world of Birdman transform perception beyond the limits of human physiology? If new perceptions create new metaphors, can the experience of another species' perceptual reality help create hybrid perspectives marked by greater empathy and ecological sensitivity? The concept of Birdman appeared to Kim in a dream. These are the questions. If the concept of Birdman appeared to Kim in a dream, due to a traumatic childhood experience, even as an adult, Kim's fear of birds prevented him from helping a one-winged bird that was suffering and dying. The guilt-ridden artist dreamed that he learned bird language from a monster with a bird head and only one wing. The dream and the artwork can thus be interpreted as an effort to attain catharsis, to attain healing through aesthetic and shamanistic means. This is the installation, and it involves wearing this headset that creates, at least attempts to create, a hybrid form of perception joining human and avian perceptual modalities. As Kim writes, in Korean tradition, some shamans can share their bodies with the deceased soul. Whenever a shaman is possessed by the spirit of the dead, she acts, speaks, and senses like another person, as if borrowing the perception of the deceased. This moment looks like a coexistent state of the living body and the dead, in which perception and identity of the two is hybridized. Kim explains that the Buddhist idea of the self is not different than the other. And this is a prevailing concept in Birdman. The work offers the audience an opportunity to experience a form of hybrid perception that joins human and avian qualia, the sort of physiological quality of experience, of perceptual experience prior to cognition. I appreciate especially that Kim's work does not explicitly represent or enact the accoutrements or scenes of shamanic healing. Rather, Birdman is driven implicitly by a shamanic perspective, and Kim leads his own ritual of self-healing through his artistic practice, sharing that with us and helping to heal us and others. By becoming one with bird, by offering an experience of hybrid avian-human perception, his work enables us to expand our consciousness beyond the limits of our embodied human minds by joining self and other. It enables us to create new identities in between humans and non-humans. And as a result of this, it enables us to create new metaphors to live by and to live with. Such ideas echo Donna Haraway's ecofeminist theories of multi-species worlds. Haraway advocates the concept of kinship, or making kin, that joins all beings. As she writes, all earthlings are kin in the deepest sense. All critters share a common flesh. Who and whatever we are, we need to make with, become with, compose with. These ideas are fundamental to the kincentric, putting kin at the center of one's worldview, that is intrinsic to many Native American traditions. In other words, all beings, human and non-human, are collaborators in the process of Earth's becoming. Indeed, by the pressing and enduring concerns of nuclear war, global warming, and the abuses of technology demand that we expand our perceptual domain. To do so, we must summon the full power of art and technology, while equally harnessing ancient shamanic technologies and other modes of expanding consciousness, experiencing ecstasy, and fostering communication among all beings. We must cultivate the elusive wisdom to correct a too purposive view of life, as Gregory Bateson advocated. We must expand our metaphors and our means and channels of communication. If we want to have a future, the artists of the future cannot be digital flaneurs or even distant early warning systems, as McLuhan proposed. They must serve as beacons of hope and as active participants in healing and reshaping our world and our relationship to it. Art as a psychic dress rehearsal to the future. To quote Jack Burnham, must embrace kinship and harmonious co-emergence with all beings. Today, there is no greater calling, no greater aesthetic necessity than helping to heal and to preserve the Earth's biodiversity for posterity. Thank you very much.
Listen me? Do you listen me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, thank you. So thanks a lot, Shanken. I'm very happy for you to sharing your open heart with us. It was really the most emotional part of your speech, when you were starting. And I would like very much introduce you our cyber page, Edgar Franco, who is a person who studies altered states of consciousness, as well developing graphic, performance, and musical art in the post-human tantra group that he coordinates. And he is a great artist and one of our research here, but we'll be done it in the next time. But here's listen you in the YouTube, okay? And I thank very much Cleomar Rocha, who did the invitation to Shanken, and he's here just to say hello for you. And really, Cleomar, I love you so much, and muito obrigada. Fala alguma coisa, Cleomar. O Cleomar está, não está? O Cleomar está? Rodrigo Rezende? Ah, I'm so sorry. Cleomar couldn't get in the room. So now we will have Fernando Foliano mediating the questions. So, Fernando, my pleasure.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Ok.
Yeah,
Quantas perguntas nós podemos fazer? Vocês me avisam, tá? Eu vou olhar aqui, vou ver na ordem do que eu estou vendo aqui. Deixa eu ver.
We have time for just 2 questions, I think so, because our time is running.
Ó, tem uma pergunta aqui da Lauren.
Hi.
There is him.
I have problem with my connection. Hi, Ed. How are
Hello,
you?
Cleomar.
Então, eu vou dando continuidade aqui, posso? Vou clicar na pergunta da Lauren.
Muito obrigada.
Aí, Cleomar.
Fernando.
Então, eu vou ler. Edward, how do you think techno-shamanism can preserve these cultures or help the healing of these communities and of our own damaged pandemic community? Did you understand what I said?
Yes, I understand the question, and I think it's a very good one and a very important one. As we know, the history of colonialism has deeply affected indigenous peoples all over the world, and especially in Brazil. and in Venezuela and Latin America. The pandemic has also taken a much steeper toll on those with fewer resources. So I don't know to what extent techno-shamanism can have an immediate impact on those in need. I would like to think that techno-shamanism can create a greater awareness and sensitivity to and appreciation of the extraordinary wisdom, the extraordinary technologies that indigenous cultures have developed over centuries or millennia. And I know that there are efforts underway locally here in Santa Cruz area to preserve and to reestablish what we call traditional ecological knowledge, the acronym TEC. So I think that there's a great deal of traditional ecological knowledge that's possessed by many different peoples all over the world, and certainly in Brazil and the Amazon basin throughout South America. So I just hope that, I mean, there's always the downside of these things too. The recent wave of Western fascination with plant medicines cultivated in the Amazon has led to pharmacy, the pharmaceutical industry, going and trying to get these technologies and patent them for themselves, from which the local indigenous people who've been the stewards of these lands, whose brilliance figured out how to make complex combinations of medicines in order to have the efficacy, they'll get nothing out of that. So you also hear a lot of concern about ayahuasca tourism, where it becomes a popular form of entertainment for people to go and, you know, kind of pretend to be, you know, have a religious experience in a culture that is so far outside of their own cultural experience, in a language they don't understand. I think it's very, very problematic. At the same time, I see the impact and the awareness that is changing minds in the US and the West as we become impacted by the knowledge of plants, the what Roy calls vegetal knowledge. Roy Ascott calls vegetal knowledge. So I see a lot of potential. I also see cause for caution. But I think that's a wonderful question and something that I hope techno-shamanism can help improve.
Do we have time for another question?
Fernando, I think that should be better to mix the both questions, because we need to close in 5 minutes, okay? We have Guto and Malu.
Yeah.
No, Guto and Paula.
I will read. Yes, this is the Guto's question. Can you read that?
Shanken, if you can answer the both questions mixed. I don't know how to say that.
Hi, Guto. Can you show me the other question too? Yeah. Well, these are great questions. Can you go back to Guto's question again? Let me see that. So I think that art has the potential to convey altered states of consciousness, expanded states of consciousness that are akin to those that one might experience in vegetal reality. So by using virtual reality, and I hope that some of the examples I showed convey this, that by joining some of these ancient shamanic technologies of expanding consciousness and healing with art and technology, that we can give people who are not in a plant medicine ritual a taste of what that experience might like, that might open their minds, might open their consciousness to alternate forms of reality, might encourage them to think outside of their traditional waking consciousness. So, to the extent that I think that really art at its best does that anyway, whether it's technological or using conventional materials and techniques. It expands consciousness. It demands that we get outside of our mundane frame of reference and think in alternative ways, envision alternative futures. And through that, we can imagine a better way of inhabiting the world. We can imagine new forms of relationship with others, with other beings of all forms. So I think that technological media can give a very profound type of experience, a very compelling, engaged, embodied experience that suggests these alternate realities and hopefully leads people to explore them more fully and incorporate them into their lives. And I think that's true in exhibition context as well. Thank you, Paula.
Posso fazer uma pergunta? No? No time for more questions.
There's no time, Fernando. I know that you prepared for me, but I think there is no time. Sorry. I would like to say some, to do some questions also, but so.
Well, when COVID-19 when it's safe to come to Brazil, I would love to come visit and we can expand this conversation and
we want you here. We want you here. So,
really nice to meet you.
Shanken, I would like to stay here all afternoon, but really we have to continue with the other lecturers. So we have to close, but really I want you here because we have really a lot of things to share. And I'm very, very happy to listen to you. And thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's been an honor. Thank you all. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Be well.
Thank you.